my next guests are incredibly talented young performers, already with impressive credits, including School of Rock, Mamma Mia, the SpongeBob musical, and Heathers. From their on-stage performances to behind-the-scenes work, they've shown incredible versatility and dedication to their craft. Welcome to Showtime, Ruby Proy and Jack Thompson.
Hi, how are you?
Great. How are you? Both.
Good.
Good and giggly. For what's a Tuesday morning, but probably a Thursday afternoon by the time people are watching this. Ruby, I'll start with you. You've been performing since such a young age. How did you first get interested in theatre?
I remember a very vivid memory of me watching The Lion King when it came to Melbourne. I think I was like maybe 8 or 9. And I remember when I watched that, that was the first show I ever watched. And from that moment on, I was like, I want to do that. I want to be on stage. I want to act. I want to, so.
And how did you go from that to being on stage?
Well, I started doing very amateur theatre classes for young kids, local ones, just getting to the basic ones, and you just move around the space like a car or something, but we ended up doing shows, and it just kind of from that point I kind of grew out into more getting an agent, and then also getting doing my high school shows, and then obviously now Windmill. And
we'll talk about Windmill in a sec, but Jack, you also started really young. I think you started at 6. How did 6-year-old Jack start performing?
So it came about with my best friend at the time, who really wanted me to sing "Oh, I Just Can't Wait to Be King" with her at assembly. But my mother thought I was tone deaf. So, so eventually her mother led to being my agent, and she said, "Hey, there's this really cool show." And so I went and did that, and I've been in love with theatre ever since.
What do you remember your first time on stage?
I do. I remember it very vividly. I was being pushed around. So it was Annie, and I was a scallywag, and I was being pushed around in a cart during the first mansion scene in Mr. Warbucks' house, which is,
And was it scary, or was it fun, or was it a little bit of both?
As a child, I probably had more confidence than I probably should have. So I was absolutely fine. I was excited. I didn't really feel much of anything. I was raring to go.
Ruby, as a performer, you've done a lot already. You've done Chitty Chitty Bang Bang Mamma Mia. You've done some work on screen as well. What do you do when you're approaching each new character?
This is the weirdest thing for me, but a big thing is shoes. I am such a big believer that the shoes that your character wears help you step into the character. And so the sooner I find out what shoes I'm wearing, I immediately wear it, because it just gets you in the headspace. At least for me, it gets me in the headspace of the character. I remember when I was younger, I heard another actor say that, and I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. But now I get it. Especially for Ariel, I was like, okay, so what am I wearing? And most of it is I'm barefoot, but at least I get into that kind of more headspace and the where I'm meant to be and where the character is, and that helps me.
So Ruby, between you and me, is that just an excuse to buy more shoes, or is it actually a
No,
thing?
No, it's not an excuse to buy more shoes. If anything, I kind of just use the shoes I already have. A lot of the time, or you borrow shoes from the costume department. They might have a specific shoe that they want you to wear, but so you got your character shoes and you got your normal kind of theatre shoes that you kind of bring along to everything. But
how does that work for you, Ruby? Do you do a bit of research into the character, or come up with your own backstory and associate the shoes with that? I'm a bit fascinated by this shoe thing now.
Sometimes I find backstories are fun. I do think that letting your imagination go a bit wild, especially if there are things that are kind of unsaid within the play, that you kind of build your own mind of, oh, they would have done this afterwards in this moment, or maybe before this happened, in a backstory that happened to them, and you kind of you make your own backstory and your own thoughts for your character. I think a big thing as well, I do a lot of thinking. I pretend what would my character think, and what thoughts would they think, and then that helps me also get into that headspace.
Now, Jack, I've been doing a bit of research with my team. Is it right, this note here, that you've already directed a show?
I have. I directed my first show at the end of last year.
How old are you again?
I am 17.
You're 17 years old and you've directed a show. That's pretty awesome. Tell me about that experience.
So obviously I got presented with this amazing opportunity to direct a show, which not many people my age have the ability to or the opportunity to. And I got to work with two of my best friends, and we basically went into the show. None of us had musically directed or choreographed show. Choreographed, that's the word I'm looking for. And so we really sat down and we said, all right, how can we make this the best show that we can with the skill set that we have? All of us coming from performing backgrounds, and I think just pushing ourselves to the limit and going, okay, how do we communicate this between us, the cast, and also the audience?
And how did you approach that?
So we sat down very early on, before we'd even started rehearsals, and we said, okay, who are these characters? Why are these characters doing this? How do they feel? How do they, what emotions are they kind of feeling? And so when we got to the casting process, we kind of had a rough idea of what where these characters were going, which I think helped us in so many ways. But we also were able to look at the characters, how people were presenting them in the auditions, and go, okay, maybe that's better.
It must be really challenging, Jack, because having spoken to a lot of directors of film and TV and live theatre, most of them are a lot older than 17, and most of them draw on their performing experience and their life experience. But of course, at 17, you don't have that body of experience to lean into. So how did you approach that? How did you work out what the characters should be doing and feeling and thinking, and how the audiences can relate to that?
So I'm very lucky that I've done so many shows and have such I think I'm up to 50 this year, which is a big milestone for me. But being able to draw on those experiences and those performance experiences, but also looking to people like my parents and people in our lives who have obviously lived so much longer. And so the show that we did had a big theme about feeling accepted is so important. So I was like to my parents, are there any times in life where you felt this way? Is there any time where you found someone that, helped you through a tough time? And then I kind of thought, how can I put this into the performance, and how can I draw from these experiences, but also explain it to the actors that this is what I need from you to kind of push the story.
That is really impressive for 17. How do you balance those parts of your skill set to inform how you're performing?
I'm one of those people that I love to do so many things. So my songwriting, my singing, my acting, even directing, and I love to, write screenplays and things like that. That is all just I'm lucky that comes naturally to me, and it's something that I'm passionate about. So showing those, it's easy to be myself in a way, because it's everything that I'm kind of showing is true to me. And so it comes very easily to me, and obviously balancing it all can be tricky, because obviously I want to be an actor, and then I want to be a songwriter, and then I want to do directing, and then and there's so many things that I want to do, and it kind of sometimes is tricky to pick one. So finding things that you can use all your skills in is the sweet spot, and it's always the best thing ever.
And you're both now using your impressive set of skills in Windmill Theatre Company's production of The Little Mermaid, the junior version of The Little Mermaid, which I think is Windmill's very first, although they're a very established theatre production company, it's their very first junior production. Ruby, what's it like working with such a talented group of young Melbourne performers?
I've been so blown away by the amount of talent that has been, and they're so young. A lot of the kids are young high schoolers, some even primary school, but the amount of talent and confidence and ability to pick up things is really inspiring, as cringy as that sounds, because it's just, they are so incredible, and they can seeing kids so happy to be in a place where they can be themselves as well. I'm so excited for their futures, because they are so incredibly talented, and it, you know, inspires me to be like, you know, a role model for them, but also like they are like role models for me in the way of like they are already picking up lines like so quickly, and the choreography, and you're just looking at them and you're like, wow, you guys are the future of theatre.
And Jack, on what Ruby said about being role models, you're 17 years old, but for a 17-year-old person, you've achieved so many things. So how does it feel to be that role model, to be that mentor, the person that people, the younger people in this production are looking up to?
Obviously, it comes with such a big responsibility, but I've always looked up to my older people. And I remember when I started out theatre, the people that I looked up to in the youth shows. And I think I kind of model my behaviour off of them and try and make them proud.
Is it a burden, or is it a joy, or is it a little bit of both? Because you're also, of course, focusing on your role, Prince Eric, which is a pretty big role in this show.
It's the biggest joy, I can't lie. Being able to have kids come up to you and just be smiling and just want to have a chat. Like, sometimes that's all they need, and that can make their day. It's just having a chat with an older cast member, maybe having a laugh, telling them a story, and, you know, being really engaged in those sort of things really can just make someone's day so much better. With being Prince Eric, obviously it's a Disney prince, so bringing that to life that's more of a burden than being a role model, because you don't want to mess it up for the children who have looked up to these characters for so long.
And Ruby, you're playing Ariel in Disney's Little Mermaid. That's a pretty big role and a very iconic role. How's that responsibility on your shoulders?
It's daunting.
I mean, especially when someone puts it like that. How's that responsibility on your shoulders? That probably hasn't helped.
Yeah, no. It's obviously daunting, is in the way of, yeah, it is such an iconic character, and people have such an image in their heads of already who she is, what she sounds like, what she acts like, and trying to emulate that, but also be true to myself and put my own take on it has been challenging, but also just the funnest experience ever, because Ariel has always been one of my dream roles, and I love playing her. Like, I think she's so fun, and she's so animated, and she's so, you know, like Jack and I do a lot of work behind the scenes of trying to not just have like these classic Disney characters that are animated, but also try and add in moments of like emotion and just like deepness and things to try and ground the story and the acting as well, so that it feels more authentic, as well as it just being like lights and, you know, big songs and everything like that. It's also like it is an emotional show. So. And
how has your understanding of Ariel, the character, developed over this process?
I think at first I was very much did it more like she's very, you know, like, yeah, animated, like I said, like the very Disney kind of like smiley and very like, you know, energetic. And the more I've gotten into it, the more I've realised kind of her, you know, her true desires, like how deep like she really like wants to be a part of things. And I know that there's like, even because we're doing the junior version, but even like looking at the full version of the Little Mermaid, some songs that are in there and stuff that kind of like give you an idea of how she's truly feeling and how deep the character actually goes, rather than just being someone that's so smiley on the surface. She has such a longing for this world, obviously, and a longing to be with the person that she loves and to be who she wants to be. And yeah.
And Jack, how does it feel to be in a lead role in Windmill Theatre Company's very first junior production?
It's a lot of pressure, because you don't want to mess it up, especially because it is the first, but you also want to just put on the best show that you can. And I think that's what Ruby and I are very focused on right now, is just how do we make this the best show we can possibly make it? Because yes, it's the first, but Windmill has such an extensive history and such a gorgeous history. And I think we just want to further that and just keep pushing ourselves, push the company, and just make great theatre.
I'm chatting with Ruby Proy and Jack Thompson, who are lead cast in Windmill Theatre Company's very first junior production, Disney's The Little Mermaid. It's on at the Rowville Performing Arts Centre, opening on the 9th of April. For more info and to book tickets, visit windmilltheatre.com.au. Ruby, Jack, thank you so much for the chat this afternoon. Jack, thank you to your teachers for letting you out of class a little bit early in order for you to have this conversation with us. And I'm so genuinely looking forward to seeing where your careers continue to go and, of course, seeing where some of these other amazing performers that you're sharing the stage with head in the future. All the very best for Little Mermaid.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.